Welcome back to Next Gen Investing. I'd now like to welcome in Kevin Green, Senior Markets Correspondent for the network, to break down some social media stocks for us. So TikTok lawsuit. I know TikTok isn't publicly traded, of course, Kevin, but everyone seems to think this is likely going to be the greatest benefit to Meta. I feel like this is going to be a longer story than anyone has anticipated. It's already been, frankly, a long story. I wish the lawmakers would spend less time trying to infringe on TikTok, and I don't even have a TikTok. So walk me through the story and how it's impacting, of course, the social media world today.
Yeah, obviously a lot of these social media stocks are catching a little bit of a bid here, and this is after 12 U.S. states, as well as the District of Columbia, have filed a lawsuit against TikTok, claiming that it has created an addictive platform for its consumers, especially when you're looking at children, and that the algorithm is really kind of preying on these children, I guess, in order for it to continue to gain and attract eyeballs here. Now, this is actually after an investigation that was started in March of 2022, and this is kind of the first step of trying to wrap up this investigation and see if they're going to be able to bring this to court. Now, TikTok has denied the allegations that their app causes anxiety, depression, among other issues for people. And so at the end of the day, this is a battle that has been fought by both political parties, and we're going to see if this is actually going to result in any type of formal action. So you're seeing Meta catching a small bid here today on a relative basis. Snapchat also seeing a decent bid, as well as DJT, which is up around 19% in the session right now.
Yeah, Kev, seems some of that's more just maybe high beta reaction to a strong risk on day with some volatility, of course, around geopolitics. But when it comes to this social media, so much of this is it's just kind of a delicate subject, I guess. I can hear, what TikTok's saying. If I was TikTok, I would say, hey, what makes us different than our competitors? Seems like that's an easier argument to make. If you're going to make, wide sweeping allegations about us, why don't you make them about Instagram? I don't see that much of a difference. But when I look at this space, I'm not envious of those who are growing up, going through middle school and high school right now. We grew up with this stuff, Kev. It was in its primitive stages, but this is, you understand the arguments. It's just how do you deal with it? That's the big question.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big question. I think it's just like parenting too, right? Like you just take the phone away and don't give them access. But I know that that's probably not a popular thing these days. So that would be my two cents there. Yes, is there capabilities of having an algorithm that can create and stimulate individuals' interest in a certain topic or subject? Yes, I think that is going to be the case here. But it's not just TikTok, as you kind of talked about it, and it's not even just social media. I mean, there's advertisings out there for many different products. From Nike shoes to deodorants or whatever that try to capture people's attentions, and unfortunately this is just a scenario where there is friction between China and the United States. I think this is a company that's really caught up in the crosshairs, but we also have to kind of think about the larger implications here. If we continue to have this back and forth when it comes to TikTok, then what could be next as far as retaliation from China? Could it be limiting chip supplies? Could it be impacting companies like Apple, which have a massive impact when it comes to our GDP? So I think this really opens up a Pandora's box. And unfortunately, once again, this is kind of just the company that's in the crosshairs. And you are seeing some benefits being proposed, or investors a little bit showing excitement for some of these ancillary names. But I would say that they're not really one for one. Like Snapchat continues to catch a bid after the story continues to get updated. But when you're looking at the earnings announcement, it's a very weak company and has not been able to monetize in the right way. So this might be something that's like more of a buy the rumor, sell the news type of an event.
Okay, and Kevin, before we let you go, I have to get your thoughts on, of course, Trump Media or Trump Technology, whatever. DJT is the ticker. That's as closely as I can get here. But I do know that name's surging on the session following like Elon Musk's endorsement of Trump, which, I mean, is this basically just like a proxy at how people are now going to trade the election?
I guess so. Yeah, no, this is it's an interesting company. So I'm all for, as you kind of talked about, we have freedom when it comes to social media. We have freedom with trading stocks. And sometimes this is a stock that people utilize to be able to express interest or try to capture, short squeezes and gamma squeezes. But once again, when you go to the fundamentals, it's a little bit weaker when you're looking at it under the hood. And then one of its major investors, I believe it was a week ago, kind of, sold sold out of a significant amount of shares too. So there might also be some enthusiasm that maybe some of the bigger holders of shareholders within the company might be done selling for now. And this is the reaction that we're seeing. But once again, short-lived. Valuations really don't match the price of the company right now.
Yeah, Snap, the company with 9 lives, I've always said DJT seems to be just a risk asset. Digital assets in general, not a lot of fundamentals behind them. DJT may be comparable in that sense. At least there's something there, at least a platform of some sort. But when we zoom out, though, we look at the overall market cap, seems volatility's kind of dried up over the last few hours. There was that little spat right around the noon hour here in Chicago around some of those geopolitical headlines. Is this to be expected with all the stuff on the back half of the week from CPI, PPI, Fed minutes? Do you expect volatility to dry up a little bit in the next 24 hours till those start hitting the news wire?
Yeah, liquidity drying up. I would think that volatility probably will stay elevated probably for the remainder of the week because of the geopolitical events. Obviously, we saw that massive move to the downside when it came to crude oil, and now we saw about $1.50, maybe almost a $2 move back to the upside because of the geopolitical news that's out there. But I think inflation is going to be really the highlight for the week. And then once we get past that, then we're going to be focusing on earnings starting next week, or pretty much Friday, but starting next week. So I'm right there with you. And right now we're trading at around 57.30 on the S&P 500. That's been a key area of resistance, or intermediate area of resistance. So let's see if we can be able to hold that, try to push higher. If not, 5,700 could be in the cards again today, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think we will leave it there. Great insight and great breakdown as always, Kevin Green, senior markets correspondent for the network.